Right. And we are live. Okay.
Right.
Welcome to Must Love Books and Laughs. And I'll hand it off to you, Addie.
Well, thank you. I so excited to be here. Thanks for having us. I am Addie Yoder, and I assume we go ahead and do this right now, right? Or do we hang out for a few minutes and let people join in?
It's up to you. I think you're
I mean, I think we can do whatever we want,
I
right?
think you are like the king right now or queen, and you can do whatever the heck you want to do.
Right. I like
I'm not sure if there's going to be a huge difference between the before time and the during time. Like it's probably going to all be how us
yeah.
hanging out before is probably going to be very similar.
Well, you have successfully influenced people to read Outlander.
Have I really?
You have. I got messages yesterday and people were like, I picked up Outlander at the library. And I'm like, one, is this new information? Like, I feel like everyone should know about Outlander by now. Like we were, but I think it was a show watcher who picked up the book. And I was like, you must keep me in the loop.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people know about it from the show, but they haven't read the books, which have been out for, the first one for over 20 years. So, and I think that I like the show, but it's totally different from the book. So if you're the person who picked up the book, you gotta hang tight through the first like 150 pages or whatever. I promise eventually Jamie shows up and he will not disappoint.
It is worth it.
And also every little thing that she does in the beginning all comes to fruition. It's all there for a reason. So, yeah. Well, my work here is done then.
Yep. You have now led a full life.
Yeah.
Yes. What are you reading? Did you finish The Intimacy Experiment?
I did, and now I'm reading The Roommate. So I'm reading them backwards, because The Roommate came out first. But I think a lot of people are reading my books backwards, which is super easy right now because the first book is in the back of the third book, so you can read the third book.
It's literally backwards.
That's a really thick book.
It is. But this new size is very bendy.
Yeah.
I like it. My kids, I recently.
Your kids like it?
No. Yes, they all read it. No. No, but I just recently learned that they have big, strong opinions on cracked spines.
Your kids do? Because I know people
yes.
do in general.
No, like my kids, my children.
What's their opinion?
And I was like, really? Like, made faces at me, had big arguments, and threw fits because my son left his book like this on the couch, and they were stomping around looking for bookmarks and like in anger at this book situation. And I knew that sometimes Instagram got spicy about that, but I did not expect this sort of reaction in my house.
In your house from children. Are they super, super neatniks in every area or just with their book spines?
Just in their book life. And I had no idea.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am not that way. My books, if I like a book, it just looks really, really abused. I mean, I know I'm going to make everybody cringe, but I dog ear pages. Sometimes I more than dog ear. I just fold it over in half. Like that's the worst. And the spines are totally cracked. And if I take them to the beach, the whole bottom half of all the pages are wet and swollen. And
I used to be a very bad bathtub dropper.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a Kindle though, without, like I put my Kindles in a baggie.
I used to do that too, and I don't know why I stopped, but yes, for years I was very protective of that because I knew that I had this history of bathtub dropping.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, it's 7:02. I think we can start this party.
Are we starting? Okay. I thought we had started, so that's a little preview of how this is going to go. Like I thought we were doing the professional bit already, so it's not really going to get any better on my end. That was me at my prime. So,
Well, let's tell everyone who we are. I will go
okay.
first. I'm Addie Yoder, and I just got in my own head and forgot exactly who I am. I'm Addie Yoder, and I am a reader and a farmer and a life coach and a podcaster. And that's a lot of things, but I'm here because my two big romance genres are cowboys and historical. And they did not think that I was going to be cowboys until Carly Bloom.
Aw.
No kidding. I thought, oh no, I can't do that because I'm a farmer, and that's like way too like in the box, right? And then I read Big Bad Cowboy, and it was just downhill from there. So I'm here tonight with author Carly Bloom. She is the author of the Once Upon a Cowboy series. I knew it was,
Nope.
it was a lot of words.
It's Once Upon a Time in Texas.
Oh, see? That's what you're here, because I can't do it right. And the author of Must Love Cowboys. Her new book just came out this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Yeah, you tell us who you are.
Okay, so when you said, hi, I'm Addie and I love books, like it felt like we were at like a meeting of some sort. Like a meeting.
I probably should be.
I was going to say there should be. So I'm Carly, and I also love books, and I write books, and I live on a cattle ranch in South Texas. I have 5 kids, and I'm super excited to talk about my book that came out on Tuesday, and about everything else that Addie has planned for us to chat about. Like, I hope, yeah, I saw the look on Addie's face. She's like, oh, wait, was I supposed to plan something?
Just kidding. I made a list.
Oh, good. And also, like, I don't have trouble talking. And my sweet friend Amy, who's probably watching, she reminded me today that there is nothing wrong with a little bit of quiet time. Hey, if there's like just a little bit of quiet sneaking in, that's okay. You can stop talking. Like, she told me that. So
now you have
me
permission.
being quiet, and it made me super uncomfortable. See?
So do you want to tell us about the book?
Sure. I was actually going to write it down because I know that's such a basic question and I never can answer it. And when I was on Smart Bitches and they asked me that question, I just totally zoned out. And I said, so in chapter 1, and like, you know, I can read a room. I mean, like, it doesn't help me, but I can read it. And so I could feel everybody, I mean, Sarah, like tensing up, like, oh God, you know, there's 35 chapters. But I didn't go through all 35 chapters. I think I just like randomly quit talking, but I'm prepared this time. So Must Love Cowboys is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Time in Texas series. And it's a rom-com. I know the cover doesn't look like it, but it's a rom-com. All of the books are cowboy trysts with fairy tale twists. Say that real fast 5 times. And so they're all fairy tale themed, and this one is Beauty and the Beast themed. And we've got a cowboy, obviously, and a librarian. And the cowboy is harboring 2 secrets. One is that he has dyslexia, and he and his identical twin brother, because you're welcome, I gave you identical twin cowboys. He and his identical twin brother have been hiding it. He depends on his brother a lot, has all his life, and it's kind of as co-foreman of a ranch. So he has that secret, and his other secret is that he's always had a secret crush on his former childhood babysitter. Also, you're welcome for that. And that's Alice, the town's librarian. And she is happily single, devotedly self-partnered, not looking for a guy at all, for no reason except that she just really isn't interested in that. And she does need a date. She needs a +1 for a wedding. So she and Beau come to an agreement. He'll be her +1. she'll tutor him because his brother's leaving to take a job elsewhere. And then I make them kiss a lot, and they live happily ever after. So that is not even close to what I wrote down, like at all. But I'm gonna stop.
Well, I like the part in the middle where they kiss a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do kiss a lot.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is really interesting about this book in particular is this topic of dyslexia. That's personal to you, right?
Yeah. I have my oldest son is dyslexic, or he has dyslexia, and he also has auditory processing disorder, which is kind of a double whammy because when you have auditory processing disorder, you'll compensate often visually, and if you have dyslexia, you'll compensate auditorily. And so he had both of those, and still does. And so, I'm always looking for something to give, specifically my heroes, because I like vulnerable heroes. I think that making them vulnerable is how we get to break their walls down. And I think that vulnerability is really missing in our culture for men. So I was looking for a way to make him vulnerable, and I didn't know. I'm not a plotter, so I kind of make up my stories as I go along. And I didn't know until the beginning of the book. He's nervous and he's upset, and Alice is wandering around distracting him. And he goes to pick up the check for the bill for the restaurant, and he has trouble reading it. And I was like, he did that on his own. And I went, oh, he has dyslexia. And then because I have you know, experience with that and with the struggles that come along with that, it just flowed from there. But I was really, really happy that it turned out that way, to show that it's a vulnerability, but it's you can overcome it. And I loved that Alice was the one who helped him. His
Because
books are her life.
she wasn't looking for him.
Oh no, not at all. She's irritated by him. They have a history because she used to be his babysitter. And like a lot of kids with learning challenges and difficulties, they will often create a diversion, a distraction, to avoid having to deal with it or have anybody notice that they're having trouble. So he had a lot of that behavior, of course, as a child. And Alice was the last teenage girl in their county who would babysit those boys. So
Yeah. So she wasn't looking for him at all. She was like, no, I have these bad memories of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the book started out with him. See, look at me trying to go back to in chapter 1. But the book starts out with him totally irritating her because there's some noisy business going on in the room upstairs at the
Yeah.
hotel where they're staying, because they've both been at a wedding. And he's in the room above. So
Um, okay, so I know that I'm trying to think of how to word this without giving everything away. I know it didn't start out on a ranch in your brain, the stories,
oh
but
right.
you did want a small town.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
why a small town?
Well, I live in a small town, and my husband and I moved away briefly after college, but and then when we got married, so we were gone for a few years. Like, we had 2 kids by the time we moved back to his family's ranch. But basically, this is our town that we've always been in. So that's my comfy spot. That's where I'm comfortable. I know how that works.
And does it create different like relationships with your characters? You have such fun characters. Like I think about Miss Mills and all of the characters from the previous books and Bubba and Trista and everybody. They're also interwoven. Do you feel like Like that is easier to do in a small town?
Yeah, because you can't avoid people when you're in a small town. So, like, if you're writing characters, in a city and there's, like, a book club, because the book club and, my books is, like, a big part of the stories, and Alice is the leader of the book club, which is romance themed because that's the only way she could get anybody to come. But, like, when I lived in the city, I tailored my friend groups to people I had things in common with. And in a small town, you can't really do that. Whoever shows up for book club, that's your book club friends. And you just it's like in a romance novel when you use the trope of forced proximity. Small town, um, a small town trope does that for the whole book, for everybody, for every character, every secondary character is in forced proximity to each other. So forced proximity is the best way to create some humor and some conflict, and also show people having to work out their differences and be tolerant of each other. So I love working with a small town as my setting. Secondary characters are really, really important to me. I really like to build a sense of community. And so I have a big cast. I think for my genre, I have like a big cast of characters, and I like working with that. A reader recently said that my town is a cowboy Schitt's Creek, and I was just like, oh my God, that's like the best thing you could say, right? Because I'm like everybody else, I'm like, I've watched the whole thing 3 times through. Just love everybody.
Out, not like everybody else. Guess who's not finished it?
You have not finished it? You know
Nope.
what? My teenage son has not watched the last episode because he doesn't want it to end. So he watched everything right up to the last episode.
We just started it. I am notoriously bad at watching TV because I have 4 kids that control all screens everywhere. But my husband and I sit down on Sundays and kick them out, and it's like our date night in, and that's what we're watching now. So it will take us 10 to 12 years to finish it, but we're working on it one Sunday at a time.
You gotta stick with it. Like, I tried this is bad, but it's true. I tried 3 times to watch it, and I didn't like the first episode. I just didn't relate to the characters at all. Like, they were really unlikable, unsympathetic characters, and you're like, "I really don't feel bad that this bad thing is happening to them." But then, like, he is just it's Dan Levy is just such a genius writer. Like, I know he's a great actor, and although I think he basically plays himself, but as a writer, he is so fantastic because I don't know when it happened. I don't and I admit that I only got through it like on my third attempt because everybody kept talking about it. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what's wrong with me? I'm gonna cave into peer pressure and force myself to like the show. But anyway, I'm not sure when it happened because he never changed his characters. They've pretty much remained fairly unsympathetic and really self-involved, and but you start rooting for them. Like, it's just like this seamless, magical change in your heart where suddenly you're just rooting for them like crazy, for all of them. So they all stayed true to their characters. They were the same people. Their arc was kind of subtle, but dramatic too. I don't know. It's some fantastic writing. Love it, and I love all the characters. Never thought I could like Roland, and I ended up liking Roland. Like, at first he was so cringy for me, like, just cringe. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know when it happened that I was just totally fine with Roland too. Anyway, so yeah, I loved it when they said that my town was like a cowboy version of Schitt's Creek.
It kind of is. Now that I have some experience in this, it kind of is. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think she thought Roland was of my characters?
Oh,
One character she
Bubba.
said one character, or really the couple, was Roland and what's Roland's wife's name?
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn. She said there's a couple that's like Roland and Jocelyn.
Was it not Bubba and Trista?
No, it is. It is. Did
Okay.
you say that and I didn't hear you because?
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I couldn't hear you because, as my friend Amy says, like I fill the quiet spots. Like I can't. I didn't hear you. Yeah, that's what she said.
That's funny. That's funny. Which, okay, you're not prepared for this one. Which
Oh, no.
character do you personally connect the most to?
Claire. I like Claire. Claire. So when I wrote Cowboy Come Home, I still am, but I was grieving for my dad. My dad died. And I think her relationship with her father, just like that really, I really connected with that. And her sense of loyalty to her family while also having big dreams, you know. I related to that even though she doesn't have kids in that book. Like I have 5 kids, but also big dreams outside of being a wife and mom. So I think I really relate to Claire the most.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm so tall and curvy too. For people who don't know, I'm 5 foot nothing.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I only see you in this, like, seated from, here up. That's the only way we've ever been friends.
That's the part of the pandemic that I probably won't like be sad. I mean, I will be sad because like I'm wearing like a dress, my kids call it a sack dress. I call it a house dress. I'm a house dress fan. Like I wasn't before, but now I totally am. And I'm wearing pajama bottoms under my dress, and I also have socks and sandals on.
So you are a fashion plate. That's what you're saying.
Yes, for Zoom, I absolutely am for Zoom, and I'm not sure I am under any other circumstances. So, you know, like I wouldn't mind if we all just keep Zooming.
There is no judgment here because I wore my cowboy shirt for you, but I have on coffee pants. So I was like, I'll put on jeans because I have this theory, and I see that my friend Keeney is on. We have this theory that lipstick gives you like extra confidence. Like when you have to go do something and you need to be strong and powerful, you put on bold lipstick and it doesn't matter. You're cool then. There's also a theory out there that's the same about like wearing your high heels. Even if you're doing a virtual interview or something, you should be dressed head to toe. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get on this Zoom and I'm going to be prepared. And then I was like, or I could wear my pajama pants and it'll all be good.
You can be both comfortable and powerful. I'm like, we're like business on top and party on the bottom, although we kind of all know there's really no party. But yeah, I'm just wearing, and I would love it when people go back to work, if they just like seamlessly report back to work and continue dressing like that. So they'll like have their suit jacket on top and then just pajama pants and slippers and just walk around doing their jobs. Like the guys can be in their shorts and then a suit on top. Like do you remember this was in the before times when that guy was in I think he was a reporter in South Korea. And remember, he was doing a live broadcast for like the BBC, and his kids came in, and then his wife like dove in to drag the kids out. Like I've watched that like 10 million times, and we were all so amused by it. Like, oh, how unusual! That would never. And now we're like, we're all living that life. You know, like we're all doing that. And I have a sign on my door that said, in a podcast. Because the first time I put it up, everybody like stayed out of here. But I left it up thinking, oh, wow, that was really smart. Look how well that worked. So now they don't see it anymore. So they just keep coming in. But like, and people were making jokes at the time. Like, I bet he's wearing shorts. I bet he's got on sandals. He's just wearing a suit jacket on top. And now we like all know that was true. Like
Oh,
he probably was wearing shorts and sandals or slippers.
I'm not supposed to do questions yet, but this one is so applicable that I'm going to go ahead and ask. Keeney wants to know, does your house dress have pockets?
It does. It has pockets. Heck yes, it does. Kenny, why would I buy it with no pocket?
Everything needs
That'd be
pockets.
cruel.
Yes. Yesterday I went to town. I left my house to get groceries and go to the library, and I had no pockets anywhere. And I was like, I wore all the wrong clothes. I don't know why I even
Yeah.
own these clothes.
No. Why would you own something without pockets? No, I have an I was Zooming with Smut U, which is like my writers group. I teach there sometimes, and I was gonna screen share something with everybody. I accidentally screen shared like a page that was open. I mean, it could have, I guess people are like getting nervous, but it was just a house dress up there. It was like a dress and it was like really ugly. And my friend Sam Sheeta, she wrote Siri, Who Am I? We've been friends for years and years. And she's like, oh my God, don't you dare buy that ugly dress. And I'm like, I already bought it. I bought it in 2 colors. I cannot wait till it comes in. And it has like really inexplicably like I don't know what they're doing there, but there's some like little flowers crocheted on it, and it's just really sack shape, and it's so comfy. Like I can't tell you how comfy it is. I just go, I put on my my cowboy boots and I go traipsing around outside. I come back in. Anyway, my daughter's like, because I guess it had embroidered stuff on it, I don't know, she was just trying to place like an era or a culture, and she's like, that's not like culturally appropriated, is it? Like, where did you get that? Like, what is like what kind of costume is that? And I was like, oh no, I culturally appropriated this from a 1970s chain smoking housewife, and you can have it if you can get it out of my cold dead hands. And she's like, I literally do not want it. I wish you weren't wearing it. Anyway, I have it in 2 colors. I love it so much. This one's just solid black. It doesn't have flowers on it.
So it's like your evening wear.
It is my morning, afternoon, evening. Sometimes I sleep in it. You just wake up ready to go. Yeah. And I gave up real bras too. So like you literally just wake up ready to go. Like I don't wear anything that anyone over the age of 13 would consider like a real bra now. I just wear like those stretchy things. And I'm like, why wasn't I doing that all along?
Yeah. It's all
Like,
about being happy.
yeah, and comfortable. Yeah.
It's funny. Okay. So I have this podcast and I do this life coach thing. And my whole like idea behind doing these things is that I want women in particular to know who they are and what they want in life, and to use that information to like do life in their best way. And Alice is like my poster child, don't you think?
I do. I
Because
do.
she is confidently self-partnered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And when I made her that way, um, like I didn't want to give her a background or history of something that happened to her to make her want to be alone. None of that happened. Alice is freaking fine. Alice is fine. She's a whole 100% human by herself, as are all of us. And it was really important to me to make her fine in her own skin as a single woman. Like I'm all about, I have kids, I have 2 daughters, and I've always wanted them, all of my kids, but especially my daughters, to know that you're not born into this world at like 50% of a human until you find some soulmate who's going to complete you. You're complete. You are 100% complete. And if you find someone to share your journey with who makes you happy, great. If you don't, you can be happy still. So that's where Alice entered. And I love that. I love that I was able to give her that. And I felt almost bad at the end. Like, having them together, because I'm like, no, but obviously I had to give her a man. I write romance, but a partner. But I feel like he was like the cherry on the cake for her, or the frosting on the cake, cherry on the sundae. Like if the book had ended differently or we didn't know what happened, I promise you 100% Alice was fine by
Oh, yeah,
herself. By herself.
sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Do you feel like Bo, I mean, obviously Bo wasn't going to be confident all the time because he had his own struggle with dyslexia, and that does shake you. That's not going to have you be confident in all situations. But I didn't ever feel like he needed Alice as a partner. He wanted her and he needed her
Yeah.
help, but that was a different category.
Yeah. Well, I think I want all my humans to be 100% by themselves. They don't need anybody to complete them. That's just a notion. So, yeah, and I wanted to show, because like I said, I have personal experience with dyslexia with my son, how it affects every aspect. I mean, people don't realize how much you read just to get through your day. I mean, remember in the book, like they do cowboy story time where they read to the kids. That was, you'd think that's not a big deal. It was a huge ordeal for him to do that. Nobody assumes that an adult they know who seems like a fully functioning human, nobody would ever dream that, oh, maybe they couldn't read. It's just, it seeps into everything he does and how he felt about himself. And also, he's such an outgoing guy who wants to share everything. It hurt him to keep a secret. So being able to share that secret with Alice, of all people, was really perfect.
This is kind of backing up a little bit and changing the subject just a tiny bit. I probably shouldn't do it right now, but um, when you said you don't plot things out at all. So, like when you wrote the first book, whose names are completely leaving my brain, they're landscapers, and it is not coming to me. Um, like so, you write that book. Did Claire and Ford just like materialize out of that?
Well,
You
I
know what I
knew
mean?
that.
Like you said you didn't know Bo had dyslexia. So does the next story just kind of like appear? Like you
Oh man, I'm always like, I count on it. I'm never sure if it will. So that's why, like, I feel like I write like while on fire, because I feel like there's no guarantee. Like every time so far it's happened for me, but I always feel like this could be the time it doesn't. But so I knew Claire, I knew that Maggie, it was Maggie and Travis.
Yes.
Um, hey, I have forgotten their names in interviews. Like,
I kept wanting to say Tucker and I knew that was not right.
that's not right. Yeah, no, I've done it. I've totally blinked out. And they're my characters. But I knew that Claire was going to be the next heroine, because she was Maggie's best friend. So I always had that plan for her, but I had no idea who the guy was going to be. If it was going to be, I was trying to look at all the other secondary characters. Who could I match her with? Nothing came to me. And then Ford just showed up, kind of started slinking around the shadows, like he does. And so when I started their story, I had no idea what his deal was, where he came from, how they broke up, how it was awful trying to figure that out. And the way I figured it out, and really, oh, I'm sorry, my foot just like slipped off my desk, so I'm okay. I'm okay. Anyway, the way I figured it out was I heard a Casey Musgrave song, Space Cowboy or Space Cowboy, I'm not sure. Anyway, Space Cowboy, and when I was listening to that song, his whole story came to me. His background, his family, everything came to me, and it just knocked something loose. And then when I was writing their book, Alice, just like, she was such a secondary character in the first book. Second book, she was a bigger deal because her library got destroyed in the flood. And so then they had the boots and ball gowns gala to rebuild the library. So she just kept kind of like, forcing her way to the front. So I was like, but Alice is so happily self-partnered. Like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't even sure about her if she would be the next one. And it wasn't until the Boots and Ball Gowns gala when Claire sees Bo looking at Alice when she's up on the stage. And then because like I'm weird and my characters are like real people who live in my head, Claire like looks at me and she's like looking at me and I'm looking back at her. I'm like, I don't know, maybe. What do you think? And Claire's, my natural matchmaker in the town. And she's like, I think. So that's when I started working in Bo, like what could their history be together to bring them together. So I didn't know till the end of that book that Bo and Alice would be my characters for the third one. So to answer your question, I do not know what I'm doing. There's no process here. People are like, what's your process? I'm like, like this picture behind me is like an angel with her head exploding on fire. And like, I have that there because I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, that's my process. Only I'm probably not an angel, but my head is exploding when I write.
I don't know. I think that it feels, I don't want to say romantic, but a little bit magical on my end to think that like the story is in you, and in my visual mind, it is like pouring out of you as you type, and it's just like this gift. And
well, yeah,
I'm sure it doesn't feel that way to you, but in my life,
I
love authors,
But thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having that romantic vision of all of this. It's really messy and I cry a lot because I just feel like other people know what they're doing. And I know people say, like, oh, Carly, you have imposter syndrome. And I'm like, no. Because imposter syndrome is a real thing, but it doesn't apply to actual imposters. So like I'm bowing out of that because I'm the real deal. I actually don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm always just, going on like faith that something will come together. And I'm a slow writer, which is hard. The industry isn't set up to love slow writers. People want what they want, and they want multiple books per year. And I'm like, I sweat out one book a year, and I feel like I was just going so fast. And then when the ARCs that you guys get, the advanced reader copies, for me, when those go out, and you probably notice, like, they're not really, they're like what other people would consider maybe a second draft, and off they go to y'all. Like, I clean them up so much after that. Like, I need that space and that time to come back to it, and then I can see little things that weren't working. And yeah, the editor hates me at that point, I'm sure.
So what's the hardest part? Is it the writing, or is it like putting it out into the world?
Well, usually people ask you, what's the hardest part of writing, like drafting or editing and I'm like, for writing, it's whatever part I'm currently doing. That's the hardest part. But yeah, putting it out into the world is two things simultaneously. It is the best feeling in the world because it's like I see dead people, right? Like while I'm writing, I feel like, the sixth sense, like I'm seeing all this stuff. Nobody else can see it. I'm going to bed worried about Claire. Nobody else is worried. Like, these are not real people. And then when that book comes out, it's so weird. People open it up and they're in there. They're like in there with me. Like they're going to the corner cafe for lunch and they're swimming in the swimming holes and they see the same people. And it is absolutely 100% magic to have all of my ghosts suddenly be visible and everybody else is looking at them with me. So that part is magic, but it's also really, really hard. Talk about being vulnerable. Like, I always say that, like, when you release a book into the world, it's like taking off all your clothes, like every stitch, and just standing there and letting everybody look at you and just inviting them to tell you what they think. What's your opinion? What's your opinion on my thighs? And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and write that opinion and put it on the internet? Like, it feels like that. Like it feels that close and personal. So, so it's simultaneously the best thing and the worst thing.
Oh, I can absolutely see that. I felt that way um, when I started my podcast because it's not all books. It's a lot of it is me talking through my own personal growth and stuff. And so I remember texting a friend being like, I feel like I just put my guts out there for everyone to see. And she's like, welcome to being a writer. And I was like, that's why I didn't do that.
Try doing it with sex scenes too. Try throwing that in there.
Is that hard?
Not now. It was in the beginning because a lot of people I know obviously read the books. I mean, I told you I'm from a small town, so my high school English teacher sent me a card telling me he was enjoying my books. Like, so people I know are reading them, and but now it doesn't bother me at all. I just refuse to feel bad about writing about something that is so integral and important to people's relationships and to their mental health and their physical health. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna hide behind that. And I could do closed door scenes, and I read a lot of books and thoroughly enjoy them that don't have open door scenes. But for me, my sex scenes are some a reviewer said they were awkward, but they worked. I'm glad she added that second part. But for me, it's just a chance. Nobody's more vulnerable than when they're naked or when they're having a physical relationship with someone like for the first time. Like, so man, that's just how do you not take advantage of that? So for me, I'd like to show those scenes because so much happens inside during a sex scene. And at the end, the next morning, everybody has to wake up just a little bit different. Like something has to have happened. There has to be a shift, an acknowledgement of feelings or a discovery of feelings or something. And for me, that's an easy way. It's an easy way for me to do that.
Yeah, I think that puts into words why readers like them too.
Hmm.
Because you do see it's communication and it's a shift in a relationship. And sometimes when books close the door, you feel a little left out on the reader's end.
You can, yeah, sometimes. Well, if you're going to do that, you just need to make sure you find other interactions in areas where that same level of growth and vulnerability can occur. You can easily have that without sex scenes or with implied sex if you're um, writing that kind of book. But um, I was going to say something and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, for me, it's just about like, I'm not going to invent a new sex when I'm writing sex. It's like everybody knows how it works. We've all put an IKEA shelf together. We know how to line the holes up. We're good with that. Like I'm not going to invent that. So it has to be about what's going on in their head. And I really like writing sex scenes from dual point of view, like to switch. We get her up to a certain, or one character up to a certain point, and then I like to switch to the other character so we can see what they're feeling, like what they're thinking during it. So I like to switch kind of halfway through so we can get both people's thoughts and feelings, concerns, whatever.
Yes, I like reading that too because you
Yeah.
do get more of a complete picture with both perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can make your heroes really hot with a sex scene that isn't about anything physical. I mean, for me, there's a scene in Muscle of Cowboys where Bo, they're in the middle of having a very good time physically, and what Bo is thinking about is how freaking smart Alice is. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's the best to me. Like that, I hope that turned everybody on when they saw that that was really what he was thinking about, was what a awesome person she was and how smart she was.
Yeah, and
And
you did that so well that I don't know that it was like, it wasn't like a billboard. It was just
Yeah.
so seamless into it that it felt like who they were.
Yeah. Well, he's always thought that about Alice. Like that's
Yeah.
always been his impression of her, and it seeped into that moment too. And are we gonna talk about the V word?
About what?
The V word? Are we gonna mention the
You can.
virgin
Yeah,
trope?
do it.
Because it is
It's an
it
important part of the book. It's a
it's
social construct.
kind of a virgin trope.
Yeah,
It's not really a virgin trope because virginity is a social construct.
right.
That is Alice's opinion. She is a very sexually healthy person. She wholeheartedly believes in sexual health and vibrators. She knows what what to do. She's very familiar with her body. And so she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She doesn't need that part of her life. And she even says, you don't get a title for not doing other things. Like if you don't jump out of a plane, you're not called a word for someone who hasn't jumped out of a plane. If you've never eaten sushi, you don't get a title for it. She's like, this is just one more thing. It's totally a social construct. And in her book club, she has a real problem with the virgin trope romances. She doesn't care for them. She finds them problematic. So it just thrills me no end that she is starring in a virgin trope romance and like has no idea. I feel like my characters are on the Truman Show, like they just don't know what's going on. But yeah, so I wanted to show that that was totally fine, natural, normal state of being. She was fine with it. And also, Bo is a little promiscuous, yet everybody thinks highly of him too, including all the women who know him and who have been with him. So I kind of wanted to just show everybody like you can have both ends of the spectrum and there's nothing wrong with either one of them. Both are healthy, normal states to be in.
I think you did it well. I mean, I don't know if this is a spoiler, and I hope it's not, but I felt like the virgin is a social construct thing, like, was so almost funny through a lot of it that you didn't know, like, was she or wasn't she? I'm not really sure until it came down to that moment, and you were like, oh, indeed, and he doesn't know either.
Yeah, yeah. And then and then I liked when her friends when they found out how accepting they were, but also felt free to tell her the difference between the two things, between having good times by yourself and what it felt like to be with someone else. And that all of the women who shared their stories about what they thought that felt like, all of them experienced it differently. They all got something different out of that physical relationship with a partner and all accepted each other. And I think maybe that's sometimes why it feels a little Schitt's Creaky, is because the characters are so supportive of each other.
And they have all of the conversations. Like,
Yeah.
like David and Stevie have all of the conversations. And so do the women in Big Verde.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we open it up for questions? I've got a few here.
Oh, yeah,
If we
sure.
say it officially, maybe we'll get a couple more. Okay, so important questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
He wants to know, what are your earrings?
Oh, they're just silver. Man, now I wish they're just little silver cutouts.
They're
I
cute.
love them because they're really lightweight. But I started out the night wearing these earrings and I changed them out. Can you see that?
Is it an octopus?
It is, but since someone actually asked about my earrings, I wish I had worn these just because they're like a better conversation piece. Because this is an exact replica of the tattoo on the Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist's shoulder.
That is a conversation piece.
I know. So I wish I had been wearing those, but I still managed to slip it in.
Okay, Michelle wants to know, what will the theme of the next book be?
I'm not really sure yet. Have no idea.
Do you
I'm
have
gonna set my hair on fire and start writing. So I don't know.
any fairy tales that you're like intrigued by that you're like, oh, we could do?
Beauty and
Obviously,
the Beast,
Rapunzel would be a challenge.
Rapunzel would be a challenge. Although maybe it could be like a post-pandemic story where someone's hair grew way out because they couldn't get their hair cut. Because I feel kind of like my messy bun is just getting taller and taller and taller. I'm like a Dr. Seuss character. But Beauty and the Beast is my favorite. It's my favorite fairy tale. It's my favorite Disney movie. But I love Sleeping Beauty. I think I could do a lot with Sleeping Beauty. That'd probably be number 2 for me.
Yeah. I'm here for that. I vote yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What is your tattoo? Says Keeney. I assume it was this one. I didn't even notice that it was a tattoo.
They're blooms, various blooms. This one is just flowers. This one has a succulent on, it's upside down, and I can't do the acrobatics that would be necessary for me to not have it upside down, but it's a succulent here and then 2 red flowers. And I have some others that we
Won't show on Zoom.
well, in case one's on my foot, but I'm not sure that I could get, like, I think at the start of the pandemic, I might have been able to get my foot up in front of the camera, but I know for sure that I can't, that tonight it's not going to happen.
What are you reading?
Well, I'm reading The Roommate because I just finished The Intimacy Experiment, which I freaking loved. It's witty and clever. So I'm reading The Roommate, and next up on my Kindle, I have I Pucking Love You by Pippa Grant. All of her titles are just so clever. And she has lots of series, but this one's her hockey series, obviously, I Pucking Love You. And she is a very prolific rom-com writer. Like, I can read a Pippa Grant book in like a day. And so it's a good thing that she writes so fast. See, I'm one of those voracious readers, so I expect my authors to write fast for me. And then I'm like a turtle writer myself. I'm a tortoise. But I understand, at least I understand everybody's frustration when I can't knock them out fast enough. Like, I get it. I just can't do it.
It just means there's opportunity for us to read all of the other books out there, right?
Right. It's not like you guys have a shortage of books. So.
Right. So Rachel asks, will Miss Mills get some love? She cracks me up.
Well, Miss Mills has had a little bit of love that we all were kind of surprised to find out about. And I didn't know either. I was just surprised as everybody else to find out at book club that, Miss Mills had some love. But I think that Miss Mills' main relationship is with the Lord. She isn't heavy dating Jesus. And I think she's pretty happy dating Jesus.
Well, good for her.
Yeah.
Estelle says, Carly, I don't know if a ton of people know that you mentor other writers. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who's early in their career?
If you're early in your career, I suggest getting feedback on your writing and then listening to that feedback. It's often hard to take, but listen to what people tell you and learn as much as you can about the craft. I know I was in a place once where I was like, okay, I read a ton, I should be able to do this. How hard can it be? Well, it's actually really freaking hard. And it's good to learn how to do it. And you can study how to do it when you're reading, but also take some classes, join some groups, find your community on social media. There's big writing community on Twitter. And then the biggest advice is to not give up, because rejection is a part of it. And the one thing I know for sure is that the people who quit and give up don't ever get there. Like, that's it. So don't quit. And I just finished, so I do mentor other writers. So there's a huge Twitter pitch contest called Pitch Wars. And I was a mentor with Sam Sheeta, and we picked our mentee to work with, and she's so funny. I don't know if they're going to keep the title of the book, but it's Netherfield Must Go, and it's Blackish meets Pride and Prejudice, and it is just one-liner after another, just so funny. But that author was still in the process of learning the craft, right? Like, she has a natural gift, she's learning the craft, and she's like a little sponge. Like, no matter what Sam and I would tell her, she would listen and she would do it. Like, and so she progressed so quickly because she was willing to accept criticism.
Angela said, how did you get started in writing?
Well, I was a reader. I was a huge reader, and I've always written, always. So I journaled a lot. Writing is how I think. It's how I work stuff out. When I started having kids, I wrote even more because I was trying to record everything for them and for myself. And I started getting some essays published in different anthologies, and with the newspaper in San Antonio. And then that turned into, I started a blog. I was a mommy blogger, and when that was a thing, and I think it might still be a thing, I don't know. And then I had a newspaper column, which was family humor. So I started out just writing what I knew, and then my kids got old enough to like, they're like, please stop writing about us, it's embarrassing. So I did, and so now, I write this, and I think they're probably still embarrassed. But I just made that switch. I'm like, I can't air my family's dirty laundry, so I'll invent other people, and I'll start airing there. So that's how I started writing. And I joined a writing group. I found some friends who also like to write, and we just learned together. And a lot of those friends are also now published with me. Like my best friend Amy, the one who told me to not be afraid of silent spots tonight. I do think I filled all of them. Sorry, Amy. But we were both in like a attachment parenting group, a mommy group with little kids. And we divulged to each other that we wrote and that we wanted to write books. And we did it. We did it together. And she is a children's author, so she doesn't write what I write, but she's also multi-published. And so find support. I think I over answered that.
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think that the community of that is really cool. Like, when I kind of dipped my toe into your Facebook group, then I met Sam and I met Amy and I met Gemma. And I just thought, they were humans, and they are, but I didn't realize that they're all part of your writing circle too. And so I just think that that's cool to see those dots connect and how you all lift each other up, because we don't talk about that in pretty graphics on Pinterest, right? But to see it actually happen, I think that's really cool.
I think it's necessary for everybody, and no matter what you're trying to achieve for yourself in the way of growth or goals, to have other people cheering for you. And also when you get really down, it's good to then then you cheer someone else up, and you take some of the words you say to them to heart. You're like, you know what, that makes sense. Maybe that applies to me too. And Sam Sheeta and we were I told you we're mentoring a really talented writer for Pitch Wars. Well, we entered Pitch Wars as hopefuls like 9 years ago. I think it was 9 years ago. It was the first year they had it. And we didn't know each other, and we tied. They do the contest differently now, but back then you could pick a runner up, and we tied for runner up. So we both lost. Like, we didn't win. We didn't get a mentor. And we like to say we tied as losers. We became really, really close and fast friends. But also we're both published now. Like, a lot of people who would have, stuck their toe in the water like we did there and just failed, like, would just maybe quit. And it's important to have those friends say, you know what, let's just keep going, cheer each other on. like I said, I don't know what makes you successful, but I know that if you quit, you don't get it. You don't get there.
Yeah. Kitty wants to know if you can say who your mentee is.
I'm not sure. I think, yeah, I can. It's Nikki Payne, Nikkipayne. She does have an agent, and yeah,
We can keep that on our radar.
her book will be coming out, I suspect.
That's cool.
It is so funny. Her character is the only DJ that gives a jam. So it's a woman DJ and social justice activist, and the hero is Filipino, and he is basically gentrifying. He's in charge of, like, he's with the company that's gentrifying their neighborhood. It's perfect.
That's
Meet
cool.
Cute's perfect. Everything's perfect. Great secondary characters. It's just, I love it.
It's probably
Sam and I read it. We were just screaming at each other.
As enemies to lovers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Jessica asked, do your children read your romance novels? How do you or they feel about that if they do? I wondered this earlier today too.
Well, my oldest daughter is 28, and she's a huge fan of mine. And my son, my dyslexic son, his girlfriend loves my books, and she reads my books. Any of them, my baby is 17, so I don't have little kids anymore. But yeah, they're just really, I joke that they're embarrassed by the covers, but it's a joke. They're actually really, really supportive, and I feel the love from them all the time. They get really proud when I get good news, and they're really supportive when I get bad news.
Has your husband read them? He's a big reader.
Oh yes, he reads them. He reads them, and he'll read like the ARC, and then he'll read the paperback, and then he'll read it when it comes out on, well, it comes out on Kindle at the same time, but then he'll read it on the Kindle, and he just like giggles through the whole thing. Like he's really easily amused. It's one of the reasons I keep him around. But yeah, he reads them too. So
I don't know. I think that's a cool feeling when they enjoy your work.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, it gives them a glimpse into my world.
Yeah.
That my little secret world.
Yeah. My husband will come through the house on Fridays or Saturdays and be like, oh yeah, and your podcast, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you listen to me ramble on about books or talk to Carly Bloom about the half-dressed cowboys? What are you talking about? So it's cool.
Well, when my son Joel, his girlfriend, was reading this book, and she said, oh, he hasn't read it. She goes, the hero has dyslexia. And he was like, Mom, was that about me? And I'm like, well, your story with dyslexia inspired that character for sure. And my son's very sweet, but he's just a really sweet nature, fun loving kid. And so sure, I'm like, I every character I make is bits and pieces of real people. And so I think that made him feel good.
That's cool. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I don't have any other questions in the box. I do want to make sure. I think that Love Sweet Arrow put the link to buy the book in the chat. So if you haven't gotten a copy of Must Love Cowboys, she did put the link in the chat. Totally support Love Sweet Arrow. We didn't talk about them much at the beginning, but they are a romance bookstore, which I don't know if you guys support independent bookstores. That's awesome. My independent bookstores are fabulous, but romance isn't always easy to find in independent bookstores. So a romance, like, I think it's pretty exclusively romance. I've not been in it yet. I was meant to go to Chicago a year ago, but we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's almost entirely romance. And so while you're there, pick up The Roommate because it's really great, and the intimacy experiment. And yeah, so again, that link should be in the chat. Is there anything else we've missed?
Um, oh, well, one thing, if you do pick up a paperback of, I have it, a paperback of Must Love Cowboys, and I think that this is linked through their website also, but I know that it's out there. You can find it, but you can get free signed book plates. So I'm signing book plates, and book plates are book plates. I know they're just a little sticker. I sign my name, but you're also getting some other little fun goodies with the little stickers. And Alice has, well, Alice is including a little library card with each one too that you can put in your book, and there's no return date. You don't have to return the book because you're buying it. But anyway, so you get some other little fun things too, because obviously I'm not going out in stores and signing books right now. So I am signing book plates, and you can sign up for that, and they're free. So be sure and do that if you want your book signed.
I would bet Estelle has put that in the chat.
I'm sure.
She is always on top of those things. Where can we find you? Like if they want to hang out with you, your Facebook group?
I do have a readers group called Carly's Bloomers, and was it yesterday or the day before when I gave the yodeling pickle shaped like a dildo away? Is that yesterday?
It was earlier this week. I did
So
not.
I give away things, like you wouldn't want to miss that. My God, like just join for that alone. Actually, we didn't have too many entries for that one. People were, I think, mostly confused by it. And I was like, really? I thought that was going to go over so well. But anyway, so they're on Facebook, and we talk about the books, and we talk about everybody's books, and we talk about other stuff. And that's and they're called My Bloomers. I have a newsletter that where I embarrass myself on not really a regular basis, but
sometimes
right
you
now,
send like short stories and excerpts and stuff.
yeah. So sign up for my newsletter. You can do that on my website, which is www.carlybloombooks.com. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Is that it? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
Email.
newsletter, BookBub.
Yes.
I need BookBub followers. I have not been super active on BookBub, so y'all have to kind of tutor me in that. So follow me on BookBub, and I'll try to get more active.
Yes.
I have so many books to recommend, and I know that's a great place to do it.
Oh yes, do that because I follow you. I want to know those books too.
Okay.
Okay, and for me, you can find me on Instagram. I'm really tricky to find at addie.yoder. And I'm on Facebook. I have a book club. It is called Book Club with Addie. If you want to join that group, we do stuff like this every month. And they are voting on their new book selection right now. And it is hot and heavy. I've been getting texts all day from people going, this vote is tied. What is going to happen? It's so stressful. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me there on Facebook. I do not do Twitter. I am scared of it, so I don't go there. But the podcast is called Grace and Growth with Addie. It's on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher. And you can get show notes and links and all the fun stuff at addieyoder.com. That's me. So, yeah. Thank you guys for for coming and hanging out with us. Thanks to Forever Pub for hosting this with Love Sweet Arrow. Thank you, Love Sweet Arrow, for setting everything up and linking the books and letting us ramble away for an hour.
Yeah, we did ramble. I didn't talk about Naked and Afraid like I did on your podcast.
Oh gosh, and I thought you were going to, because you talked about people being vulnerable when they're naked, and I was like, here it comes.
It was a conscious effort. It took effort.
Well, you can find different behind the scenes with Carly on yesterday's episode of Grace and Growth with Addie. We talked about completely different stuff. So
yeah, we did.
Naked and Afraid included.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Love Sweet Arrow. Bye, everybody.